I hit a record
Recording
button.
in progress.
I did that thing with the record.
There you did.
Are you a robot or a robot?
Hmm. Choose your fate.
I'm a
Or are you
creature.
Dave Prowse in a space frog suit?
God, I wish. What a what
Gorilla
a
space
gigantic
frog.
what a gigantic hunk of dude monster man.
Okay. Y'all want to do the thing straight away then?
Okay. Welcome to Podcast 1999, the podcast about space 1999. I'm your host, Mark.
Hi, this is Beta Matt.
Oh, I thought it
I'm
was gonna be
just
Beta
here. I'm
Brian.
just here.
Okay.
I'm just Beta
I'm
Matt
Alpha
here.
Mark.
Here we
Get in
go.
here.
I'm
Get in here,
Gamma
bring your
Brian.
wife.
If you
Or
choose,
is it Delta? I forget which comes
I don't know.
next. I'm not Greek.
Delta.
Would you be
Okay.
like
Fly.
more low
You're an
key if you were
airplane.
one of those? Like if you're an Omega male, just what is it? That makes you you're an Omega man, I guess. So that's different.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're an
Mega
Omega male.
Man.
You're just the
Yes.
last guy alive.
Right. Okay. So
Or
that's
you're
not so
song
good.
by the police. Okay.
But
Yes, well, right. Koenig is the alpha male, right? The alpha cloud.
yeah, yeah,
He's the alpha cloud.
he's the alpha cloud, this beta cloud, which to be honest, looks like a cloud of flatulence for most of this episode.
Which version? There's like three versions of the cloud we see throughout this episode,
Oh,
and I was
all of
very
them, all of
confused.
them. I have different notes on, I think, all of them. Let's see. The first one is just psychedelic space fart. Okay, I got that.
Yeah, I think I saw that one.
At some point, oh, when they're trying to put psychedelic prismatic diamond, almost made things better, but there's still baby poo all around it. Clown has gone full fart brown. Okay, I was obviously obsessed with my notes doing these yesterday, so.
Not as good a cloud as the Catacombs of the Moon cloud, even though that cloud didn't talk.
Oh, that fire cloud, that was cooler, wasn't
That
it? I
was
mean,
good. That was a better
fire is
The
cloud.
better
fire
than,
cloud.
Maybe
yeah.
that episode should have been called the Beta Cloud.
Well, maybe that was the alpha cloud, and that's why they call this one the beta
Ah,
cloud, because it was the second cloud.
Because you may have
yes.
not noticed that Koenig's not a cloud.
I don't know, but
I don't
aren't
know
we
if you
all
knew that.
though?
Hmm.
Technically, are we
Yeah,
all
I guess.
clouds?
And quantum.
I
You just
want to
say
ask
Depending.
quantum.
that Charles Woodgrove guy what he meant by calling it the beta cloud.
I mean, compared to a rock, he's a cloud. How about that?
Okay, sure. We've met some rocks too, so we know about that. Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
compared to the rock of what was that thing? It wasn't called any the Glister's rock. It didn't have a name.
The
That rock,
glistering rock, yeah.
the Glister,
Um,
Mr. Glister,
what
Mr.
did you
Glister
what did
makes
you
fun
learn
of
about
him.
this episode?
I learned that um I can get tired of cool action music.
Oh, really? I was pretty down with the music. I mean, it was too much, that's for sure. But I was actually trying to segue you into that trivia, which you didn't do.
Eventually, eventually, I
Everything
was
was
tired of it.
action. It's very action.
It was good. It was great at first, and eventually, it was like, okay, can we move on? And let's move on to trivia. This episode is 14th in production order for season two. Robert Lynn is back to direct. You very recently saw his work in Catacombs of the Moon with that better cloud. And this is his second and final directorial effort for the show. Fred Freiberger wrote this one under the alias Charles Woodgrove, just as he did for The Rules of Luton, and he'll get the primary credit for one more this season as Charles Woodgrove, not as himself. Finally, we've gotten there. Star Wars is in full production at the same time this show is in production. And the creature in this episode had its head fashioned out of a leftover Rebel helmet by Andrew Ainsworth of Shepard Design Studios. And he actually designed the Darth Vader outfit, which would be worn by today's guest, David Prowse, who had not been yet cast as Darth Vader.
Hey,
But that'll
Mark,
be
I want to pipe in there because that's what Wiki says
Mhm.
on his page and on the page for his episode. But I looked up actual filming dates of Star Wars, and it was a
Mhm.
month before this. So it seems he actually did because Star Wars shot January to June. This episode shot in July. So Wiki's wrong.
Is it possible they just shot Darth Vader later?
I think what they did is they were like, "Oh, Star Wars came out after it, so he must have been cast after us." I think it was just a wiki
Mm,
dumbhole because I spent like 20
yeah.
minutes actually looking this up, and it seems, I mean, someone
I
prove me wrong,
saw
but it
that.
seems, yeah,
Wow.
January to June was Star Wars. This is July, so he had
I
just been
didn't know
Darth
we are going to
Vader.
have Trivia Wars today.
And that explains why he had like a Rebel helmet and stuff too, right? So
I declare your trivia as Empire trivia.
I
Mine is
figured the
Rebel
two were
trivia.
shot very close together, but I had no idea which one was shot first. So it's very interesting. Yeah, they
yeah,
shot it
yeah.
It's it
later,
annoys
just
me,
late in the
and
summer.
I'm not saying that what I read was necessarily correct. It does annoy me that they went out of their way to say that David Prowse didn't know he would be Darth Vader when he made this episode. If he had already been Darth Vader, that annoys me. Whoever wrote that
Wiki
on
is not
something,
always correct. Anyway, I found both
yeah.
things on Wiki, right? But I kind of
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with the one that gave me actual dates, I think.
All right. Well, he's Darth Vader.
Yes, he
Anyway,
and he's a lizard gorilla fish.
and he's a lizard, gorilla, squirrel fish. This is the episode that Xenia Merton was specifically asked to return for, although she ended up returning a bit earlier. Barbara Bain had asked her to return since she and Martin Landau had planned a vacation to the south of France. That is why they're only in a few scenes. It is not one of the doubled up episodes, although you'd be forgiven for thinking that. Anyway, back to David Prowse. He's our main on screen guest as the Cloud Creature. He was born to a working class family in 1935 and found a passion for bodybuilding and weight training in his teens, which led to weightlifting titles and a Mr. Universe title, as well as a lifelong friendship with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno before any of them were acting. Soon, when he was offered a role in Casino Royale, you know which one, and he started appearing in more films, which led to George Lucas offering the role of either Darth Vader or Chewbacca, of which he chose the former, thinking that it would be more iconic, which was a very good choice. He did appear in all three of the Star Wars films, although he ended up feuding with Lucasfilm over promotional neglect and general mistreatment, which resulted in him getting banned from Star Wars events. This apparently did not have anything to do with his voice being overdubbed by James Earl Jones, unbeknownst to him at the time of the first film. That apparently he's fine with that. Personally, I think David Prowse's vocals in the scenes is pretty fun, and you should look it up on YouTube. Prowse continued to appear in a few more films, but mostly transitioned being a personal trainer to the stars, and also continued to appear publicly in the role of Green Cross Code Man, a superhero designed by the British Road Safety Committee to teach road safety to children into the 1990s. I don't know if I structured that sentence right. Regardless of burnt bridges, he continued to be a beloved presence by Star Wars fans and passed away after a short illness in 2020. Mark Smith is the uncredited voice of the Cloud. He was born in 1945 in St. Louis, Missouri. He seems to have moved to the UK early in his career, and most of his credits are British productions or anime voiceovers. You can see him in The Pope Must Diet, Whoops Apocalypse, and Moonraker. But you could also hear him in Metal Skin Panic, Maddox 01, Dominion Tank Police, Space Warriors 2000, and Hardware.
You said words.
He, he passed away in 2006 in London at the age of 61, but before that, he'll be back for one more uncredited voiceover in Space 1999 episode Dorzak. I don't know if it's just that episode since it's uncredited. There could be all kinds of appearances, but that's the one I know he's uncredited for. Anyway, that's the end of the trivia.
Now it's the start of the story.
Start of the story. Alphas come across a cloud in space when suddenly many of the crew fall ill, including Commander Koenig. Meanwhile, Eagle 6, which has been missing for 4 days, suddenly returns without the crew, but it is carrying a massive creature which smashes its way into Alpha and starts attacking crew members. The cloud starts speaking and demands Alpha's life support system, but the Alphans are more worried about dealing with the violent creature. Tony tries leading the creature into a vacuum tube, but it doesn't work. They try carbon dioxide, a tranquilizer, chlorine, and electrically charged wires, but nothing seems to stop the creature. And Maya can't even transform into an exact duplicate of it for some reason. Tony and Sandra try firing on the cloud with a laser gun, and even though they seem to have found a diamond that might be its control center, attempts at destroying it fail, and the cloud just laughs at them. Maya surmises that since nothing will kill the creature, it must not be a life form, but it must be a robot. She turns into a bee and is able to enter it through its ear and shut it down from the inside. This causes the cloud to diminish in size and vanish, and Moonbase Alpha is saved. Tony wakes up in medical and manages to ruin things with Maya, who is nice enough to bring him solitaire. The end.
But she takes the solitaire away, doesn't she? Which seems kind of weird. I mean, yeah, you can leave the solitaire. I mean, that's the statement.
Tony was
Why'd she give him solitaire in the first place? It should have been a game for games that people play, you know, games for two. Yeah.
Well,
it was 3D solitaire though. It was better than regular solitaire.
Yeah.
She knows
And
everyone
3D
hates
chess was
him.
probably patented by then, so they couldn't use 3D chess.
Now she hates him too. The
So
end.
are you on a team dumb monster or anti-team dumb monster for this episode?
Them slightly ambiguous, but this is incredibly dumb episode that was, I mean, it's not like that it wasn't fun to watch the dumb monster do its thing. It was just looked dumb and it was dumb and it was doing dumb things.
I mean, it's a classic man in a dumb monster suit, right?
Yes. I can't, that's the thing, is I know it's dumb, but I can't be mad at it. And I was not actively unhappy watching this.
I mean, this feels more like Darth Vader than Hayden Christensen does in the Darth Vader suit, I felt like.
Yeah.
Because it just has the very large man moves things massively vibe, you know?
There's
Which
no substitute for a large man. I'm sorry.
that's
there
true.
is no. Muscles are a special effect. They are, or not a special effect. They're an asset.
Now, if I was
No.
blue skying things, I would have. I mean, Mark Smith was fine as the cloud voice, but I was just thinking, what if you got replaced him with Shatner? That would have been so much fun if like William Shatner were like taunting them in that way.
I thought he
would
was
love
kind of
that.
bad, actually.
Okay, well, good. Then you can support my Shatner.
He
idea.
sounded extremely
Yes.
American too, which seems off, even though it's kind of an American English production. You kind of expect the villain to be English just for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I would like a Malcolm McDowell voice for the Cloud. That would have been kind of cool.
That also would have been cool. Yeah. What I got tired of in this episode was not the monster. It was not the music. It was open,
Open,
close, open,
open,
close. I mean,
50% of the script was that. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, continuity was, I guess, on their ass this week, right? You better have him keep saying that because it's programmed only to his voice. That's it.
Yeah, there was on one hand, it was great that this week I was my time to write the story because there was no story in this.
We can chase a monster. This is like,
to me, it felt like if you took the rules of Lutan without a location shooting and scaled it down to one monster,
Oh my
you
God,
have Beta
right.
Cloud.
it was
You're
like
right.
three monsters. Maya turns into like two different monsters.
Okay,
right?
yeah. And Maya does
Well,
turn into things in that one too, but yeah.
do we really count Maya as a monster?
If she wants to be a monster, you should, accept her as a monster.
You know who the real monster is?
Who's the real monster?
Barbara Bain would not allow her to appear as a human, and there was the scene where she was supposed to appear as a human after Tony sees her in a magazine,
And blonde. That was the big problem.
and Barbara Bain was like, "No, you can't do it."
It's like she's already been on the show looking like that. What's the problem?
No, you don't understand. She has to have sideburns, or else Barbara Bain is threatened.
She didn't have sideburns last season.
Well, yeah,
Well, she was a guest star last
guest
season.
star. Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Well, so was Joan Collins, but she had to have a shorter skirt than Joan Collins.
Yeah.
Oh,
Here's
boy.
my quotes. The
I miss
quotes I
Joan
wrote down
Collins.
for this one. Who we are is too complicated for your comprehension. I like that. I'm gonna introduce myself to people like that from now on. Who I am is too complicated for your comprehension.
Well, you're a gaseous being apparently, but you
I
use
contain
robots to do your bidding, but then your robots
pretty
blow up and kill
complicated.
you. Yeah, if your own robot's death means your own death, it's like how much of you is invested in that robot?
And then he asks peacefully. Oh, that's the last line. I'm skipping, but give up your life support system and die. Made as like a polite request. I like that.
That was very funny. I mean,
Just
I
give
thought that
up.
Maybe that's why I support Mark Davis a little bit. The delivery on that and who we are is too complicated for. But I mean, the delivery. I mean, it's like Criswell sort of stuff, right? I love Criswell.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I can
Gotta
see
love
that.
Criswell.
I put in my notes that I kind of I would like the voice better if it was a better actor, but then I put maybe not right after that.
right.
So yeah, I kind of do agree with you. But I still think the best line is the response when Tony yells at him, "We don't die on request." That's like a legitimately good action line.
And then I guess the most famous line out of this is the Cyclone is my favorite planet line. But
Yeah.
That was good.
But it's not as good as those alien cloud quotes I just read, I think. But I did write that down just because oh yeah, I actually know that,
It's not as good as if he said I love you and she said I know.
They could have gotten away with that in 1976.
Well, yeah, they would have been the first ones to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
We
her
already had,
actual reply
did
was like, "We don't have time to play games with words, Tony."
we already did have Maya saying she had a bad feeling about it, right? So they got
We
ahead in
did.
one respect at
Well, that's
least.
right. They got
So
to
it's
jump on Star Wars.
yeah,
Then.
yeah. So not a complete wash on that
Well, I
at a
posit that
timeness.
the reason it's tolerable for Star Wars to repeat that so much is because it's such a cliched line that you would expect it out of anyone. The thing
Hmm.
that annoys me is when every Terminator movie has someone saying, "Come with me if you want to live,"
Or we'll be back.
or "I'll be back." Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger saying, "I'll be back" in every movie he was in for probably 20 years
Well, and
stretch.
Darth Vader says I won't be back.
Great. Wow,
Okay.
that
Isn't that
completely
isn't that
changes everything.
isn't that deep,
Sorry.
man?
I guess he won't.
Um,
Oh boy. But you know what? That movie tanked because people were tired of Terminator,
mm.
not
See
because it
that
was
if that had
bad.
come out after T2, I think it would have been done quite well. But yeah, it's just it was like
Yes.
15 years too late.
I mean, we could make an entire 25 episode podcast on what went wrong with Terminator franchise.
Oh yeah.
And probably 10 episodes could be about Terminator 3.
That one's fun. That one's got the deleted scene with Sergeant Candy, which is my favorite scene in any
Exactly.
Terminator film.
I
The
think I
best
saw
scene
3.
is
Yeah.
not in the film. I don't know.
I think I
The
saw
thing is, I
1
watched it when
and
it came
2.
out and I was like, that was fine. And I watched it again much later and I did not like it at all. I think it's just it was just not the movie that should have come out after T2, which was many people still consider one of the best movies of all time. I mean, isn't it Luke's favorite movie or co-host in our other podcast? Isn't it his
Um,
favorite movie?
well, we might say Jurassic Park too, but something like that. Um,
Yeah.
I was gonna throw out in this one though. I guess since we got the dumb alien so quickly, I kept wanting to give like this episode like more benefit of the doubt. I'm like, well, if this is so dumb, then nothing else can be as dumb. And I was trying to work out the smarter angles. I'm like, well, this is kind of like Alien if the crew of the Nostromo could actually work together a little bit. So that's fun.
There,
Am I
there
giving it too
was
much credit?
there was teamwork. That's nice. It wasn't just it felt like the things happened in order. You
We
know,
got Take
people were
Charge,
doing things that
Tony.
made sense.
Hmm.
However, it really, really annoyed me that at the end, they after beating the robot, the cloud just goes away. Like at least have it scream or say,
Dissipated.
"No, my robot, it was my son. I loved it." I don't know. It's anything. Anything. Why do you
Yeah,
do
that
this?
was a
I would
strange wrap up. It's like, and everything got better at the end.
Except for
so it's
Tony,
like
of course, who was Take Charge Tony through the whole episode and then becomes a bungler right in the last scene.
so if the cloud is something that's too complicated to possibly comprehend, it just goes away if you kill the one robot it sends at you. That
Correct.
doesn't make any sense.
Well,
That's
it's
not even,
too complicated for you to comprehend. You're trying to comprehend. That's the problem.
did it get really worried after that happened and then
100%
argue with
hard
itself?
sci-fi. You can't comprehend it, but it's all hard sci-fi.
uh yeah, it's I mean, Tony does say that they could beat it off at some point.
Is that what you meant to say?
That's what I said.
Right. Okay.
But he did say it.
But
He
yeah,
said
yeah.
somehow we could beat it off.
Yeah. But this
That's too
is
complicated.
right. How do you do that to a cloud? Okay. Um,
What does a cloud need with that?
despite the dumbness, I guess it is Tony's best episode so far. Like he gets to be like the star of the show this time around and solve things, and only he can open and close doors. So yeah, I don't know. How do we feel now
Well,
that Tony's on the lead spot?
except in the medical, where apparently Alan's in charge for some reason.
Do you think that Alan do you think that Alan
Conan
was
said
going to
so.
have this role and then Martin Landau was like, "Listen, no way. Nick Tate does not get to star in this. It's Tony."
He's doing some, speaking of Jurassic Park, he's got some Goldblum chest going on there, right?
Yeah, I mean,
What a
it's cool that
strapping guy.
it's cool that we do get some Alan Carter in this and we get some of the whole cast. You know.
And we get the other pilot. They're both pilots are in this one.
I think we
Yeah.
got pretty much the whole cast in one sense or
True.
another, even if they're
Yeah.
only lying in bed asleep.
We're just
It's
missing the
Yasko.
draw. We got San,
We're
but we have no
missing-
draw.
Yeah,
we have no
Dra.
Yasko.
Oh,
Justice for Yasko.
That
Miss
would have been a cool
Josko.
episode where she misses the draw. She loses the draw in some alien encounter, and that's why she's son now.
This is the episode where I finally see it does say Son, Sahn on her badge, and that just annoys me.
Yeah, I know it's got the H in there. I just
It's
want to have
like I like to pretend it's just a nickname for Sandra, but no, it's literally in print there. So it's like
She legally changed her name. It's not hard on Moonbase.
there's fan theories that she changed her name for some reason between seasons, but it's just retconning. It's just
The couple
headcanon.
of things I read just said Fred Freiberger probably did it as a punishment for leaving and coming back.
Which doesn't make sense. What kind of a
doesn't make
punishment
any
is that? That's
sense.
just it doesn't make any sense. It's too complicated to comprehend.
Well, I think that it's just a thing when you're a control freak, then you just do things sometimes. Like, have you ever worked at a job where sometimes the owner would just change the rules and make things like not necessarily rules that when changed would make things better at work or make anything more efficient or make you work harder. It's just that rules to be changed so that they could watch you do different things.
Welcome to Japan. They love doing that in Japan. Like they love like flipping everyone's departments of every few years. Like I mean, not at my job, but there's always like the new little policies that maybe don't make sense, and it's like, well, it'll probably blow over in a few weeks, which is usually the case.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just so your like supervisor can walk in and their supervisor can look at them that I've changed efficiency by changing the departments. I've increased efficiency, and then they say good job,
Right.
and they smile at them, and that's the whole thing. They just want to be smiled at.
That's all Tony gets in this episode.
Because
He
Tony is
ends in
sad.
traction with a space cast of bubble wrap, and no solitaire to play anymore.
And not and not in love anymore. Maybe.
I mean, he can dig his way out of that.
Wild garbage. I don't know.
That was a bad phrase though. Like, why would you use that phrase?
Yeah.
You know,
why not call it like I was
all
giving
that.
you a little bit of sugar out there, wasn't I? I mean, that sounds a little better, right? You can talk
no, that
yourself
sounds
out of
bad.
that.
You say what you
It
say
sounds
is
better
like,
in wild
I'm
garbage.
I'm sorry.
Well, how many episodes does it take? Like
For,
14 episodes for them to kiss, and then he immediately torpedoes the situation.
Honestly, I just assumed that between episodes they were already softcore.
It's not canon until it happens on screen, man.
personally, I was disappointed that she didn't, after he said that she didn't say your beer is terrible
That would have been
and
nice.
then walk off. Yeah.
Just before
She
that,
just,
beer
like,
references
finds-
in this episode, at least.
She takes out a thermos full of his beer and opens it and throws it in his face. And leaves.
Good. And can you give him beer while he's in medical though? Maybe beer is barred from the medical, especially his trash beer, his wild
hell no, we
garbage
totally
beer.
bar that stuff from medical. Label it external use only.
You could probably sterilize something with it.
But right
Exactly.
before that last scene, my note is Tony's gonna bang a bee. So
Is that like B movie? Is that what happens in B movie?
Maya B.
Didn't watch B movie.
Isn't it something
nobody
like
watched B movie.
Is it something like a bee kisses a human person?
I don't know. I didn't watch
Maybe
that.
I'm thinking of Sonic.
Some disturbing CG animation would have that, yes. But yeah, it is another effective transformation. As the season goes on, she's having more effective transformation. So that's nice, I guess.
Yeah, there's some good Maya stuff in this.
Yeah, she's teching the tech where allowed. I kind of like the fact that
Oh,
Sandra does get a whole, tech the tech scene. It goes on forever, and the music is ridiculously fast paced for planting limpets on the wall and stringing cables or something that.
Real quick, I want to do a reverse correction. Yes, there is a thing in B movie where a bee kisses a human woman.
Okay, there we go.
Well, that's
Didn't
important
want
to know.
Now we know. How large is the bee?
It's the bee.
Okay, well that doesn't
Do
really.
bees have lips? What do you kiss with?
If you're much smaller than the lips, is it a kiss really, or did you just land on them?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's heavily implied, but nothing is shown on screen.
Oh, okay. So we don't have to work out how that happened.
Recorrection.
I did want to say with the score, because I thought we had a new score, but apparently they wrote it for Space Warp and then just kind of threw it in here. And then of course some of the insanity jazz from 1 Minute of humanities, I guess, in here as well.
Oh, this is the Space Warp score. Okay, I thought it sounded familiar, but new.
Yeah, it's
Space
just
That makes
Warp.
confusing
sense.
because this is technically like they did this episode, most of this episode was too short. And I will say 15 minutes in to this podcast as well as like, are we finished already? And and then there's like 35 minutes to go. So yeah, they were stretching this one out, I guess like a season 4 Twilight Zone kind of, because I mean it is just kind of like
But they
variation.
preemptively used music from the next episode.
Yeah, because
Or
they
two
finished, they
episodes
had to
down.
do a few shots for this after doing Space Warp, kind of like the Space Foam episode, Space Brain, right?
Yeah,
Another
because I
space
remember
foam.
that music. Ta-da, dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I remember that from Space Warp.
Right.
So,
So it's new
yeah,
for me,
interesting.
but it's old
Me too.
um for it was not specifically written here, which is maybe why it got up Mark's craw a little bit because it just is
Just
unrelenting.
kept going and going. Interestingly, Space Warp is the that one other episode that Fred Freiberger wrote.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Surprise. Okay, well, if you guys haven't seen it yet,
No,
yeah,
Have
I've
not.
noticed that lower
it,
ratings on that one. It seems to be one that people, I don't know, which sometimes means I'll love it. The beta cloud is, I guess, although, well, I would instead of a fart brown cloud, I would like a weird psychedelically colored rainbow cloud. If that were the case, I would love this episode actually. Um,
Well, maybe they were just trying to switch it up. Like,
yeah,
what if the cloud was bad?
I like the
guess we'll
movie
have to.
Robot Monster a lot. Maybe that helps why I like this one.
Yeah,
I
me
guess we
too.
have to call this the Woodgrove trilogy.
What-
You'll kind of see a familiar theme running through all three of them once we get there.
Funk? Is it funk? This episode's so funky. Session player funk. It would not take much to funkadelicize this episode.
It does have that funky music from the next from Space Warp, which I guess is 2 weeks from now, according to my list. So yeah, next
Mhm.
week's stuff. Okay, well, we will see it when we see it.
Exciting. I'm like, what I want it to be is they're just in a space warp the whole time, but I'm sure that's not what it is. Just like this is not about them being in a cloud.
Which I'm glad about in the end because it's not a rainbow cloud. It's a brown cloud.
I think if they'd been in a cloud the whole time, this would have been kind of cool, but they just, I guess, couldn't afford that much fog.
Oh, like you want
Right.
like all of
I wanted
Moonbase
them
to
to
be
be
like
in the cloud.
dripping in fog.
I wanted
Well,
them
they
to
had a
upload all their files to Google and then they get deleted
they had us a
because it's
bubble machine
beta.
on the set last season, so yeah, they could have
Yeah.
a smoke machine. Although there's a smoke machine, I think, going in the lab with the chlorine gas, which I think was just smoke with green light on it. I
Well,
don't
that
think it
was
was.
also a really good scene. I thought, like, partly because David Prowse was selling it so well, like just like falling over and flipping and stuff while the gas was shooting him. At least I assume that was him and not his. I mean, why would he have a stunt double? He is the stunt man.
Oh, which
He
one?
is the
I mean, in
man.
the hallway where Tony puts the fire
Yeah.
extinguisher on him. Yeah, it really knocked him
Well, yeah.
down. You think, oh, we finally found something to knock him out. The
Yeah.
fire
There is.
extinguisher.
Speak, and then he almost gets smashed by an oscilloscope at the end. That's kind of fun.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. We haven't been talking a lot about David Prowse, but man, he does a great job here. He's like a Friday the 13th Jason level menace in this.
No, I mean, this is
Good
a
Jason.
good example of how much the guy in the suit really does matter because it's easy to forget that a lot of the
Mhm.
time, you know?
Yes.
So is
But-
the creature's mouth open all the time so Dave can see out the mouth? Because I assume his eyes are back there. So I think I saw his eyes once or twice in the.
I'm not sure. It was really funny that I just kept calling him a merman in my notes. And then the one point where he sort of is standing there and puzzled, I thought it kind of looked like a squirrel.
I didn't have I
Also.
was wondering where you're coming up with squirrel from, but I guess
When
there's
he's
some
twirling
fur.
around looking confused, he looked like a confused frog to me. But that's just the eyes, I think, didn't work.
Oh, you're talking about the fighting with Tony, but when the creature first comes on and he's fighting that security guy, and it goes on for like 5 minutes on a monitor in the background, and he just keeps grunting. I thought that was like hysterical. Did anybody else notice that?
Yeah, that was pretty. That whole thing was very fun. That
They're trying to
entry.
talk about what is it? Was it in the background? Boo, boo, boo. Like for
And he,
5 minutes.
you know, just the
My
fact
favorite.
that. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say my favorite bit like that was when Tony traps him in the air in the vacuum chamber and he throws the fire extinguisher at him. You can hear him go, oof. Like he really got hit by that fire extinguisher. And it's like, wouldn't an alien creature be more like, "Arr, ah," it was just like,
Well, he's a
"Ugh."
robot. Yeah, he's a robot, isn't he? Maybe they, yeah.
That was not well choreographed. It was obvious that he just sort of turned around and walked the other way after
Well, I
getting
figured
hit
they would
by
have
it, like
just,
the kind of
Wouldn't you have to
reflex.
ADR that as
dubbed that
well?
out. You ADR'd it. Yeah, I would have ADR'd
It
it.
seems
But
like they would have had to add it in
no, I
rather than
think it was
take it
actually a
out.
live mic recording Dave
Yeah, they
Prowse.
wouldn't be miking him, so they had to add that.
He probably had a story about that. Too bad nobody asked him. It's like, were you really hurt by that fire extinguisher? He probably would have said, yes, hell yes, I was.
Like, seriously, you're asking me about Space 1999?
He's written a memoir called Straight from the Force's Mouth, and maybe it's in there.
Okay. I have
Oh,
to go
all
check
right.
that.
I'd totally ask him about Space 1999 because everybody else would ask him about Star Wars.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe. I mean, why not? He wasn't in a lot of things compared to most people who we know by name.
no, I feel like the only time you actually see him is what, A Clockwork Orange? Rest of the time he's in a suit
I
or something.
Yeah, that's the only other thing I can think of off the top of my head.
Well, I think, man,
He's thinking,
he's in Benny Hill show.
ooh, I hope he's a
As
cop.
a strongman in two
Oh.
different episodes of that.
Okay. They get a
He's
little bit of
in
work.
Saving Star Wars,
That's
Order of the Sith Downfall.
anything with Star Wars in the title doesn't count. We know about that.
Yeah, I'm just like, this is probably a fan film. Oh, two Star Wars venture to deliver a letter to George Lucas. 2004. It is 1 hour and 57 minutes long.
Right.
Now I'm just mad.
Okay. We've made Mark angry with these
Well, you
fan
didn't.
films.
These
Fan
people
films
did.
make Mark angry. Okay.
These people did.
Gotcha.
I'm mad.
Was there a fan film with two guys trying to get a cassette they made when they were a kid about Carrie Fisher, to Carrie Fisher?
Probably.
That
Probably.
I think they succeeded. It was
Once we're
back
in-
in the 90s sometime, I think.
once you're in fan film territory, anything's possible, right?
Hey, when we were
Oh.
10, we recorded this love song for you on cassette. Here it is. Thanks.
Yeah, I think I might avoid that trip. Okay.
I think I would make that trip.
And that film was called Cringe Tape. Anyway.
So yeah, I guess that's the problem with this episode. There's no real meat. It's just like, do you like Fun Monster? The answer is yes or no. The only other note I really have is Maya Mouse is back. I just wanted to call her Maya Mouse. So I got that. But does anyone want to throw a point on this?
Well, I liked the point of view of the mouse looking out. There was a point of view shot of the mouse looking out the grill at Tony and the monster fighting. Remember that when she came out into the hallway? I thought, oh, they actually had to set the camera up behind the the little air grill in order to get that shot. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Is she too much of a
work.
plot convenience? I guess she's always a plot convenience, but here it's just like the doors won't open. Oh, she could turn into a mouse. I thought she was going to turn into a bee earlier. I thought she should have turned into a bee earlier. She would have had less trouble getting through those grates.
That would have been the first thing, yeah. Better than a mouse. I like the red-headed chlorine monster was back.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
We got to reuse that suit. She had to tell Tony. Remember when I told you about this creature that could breathe chlorine? Because you weren't in that episode.
Maybe like turning into certain things is like more fun than others. Although if she turned to a chlorine monster, she should have started like suffocating right then and there, right? Because that breathes chlorine.
I wanted to see Bill Fraser grab the wrong cable, the HT10s instead of the 15s, and then, shock himself and then realize his mistake. Because that could have padded the episode out another 3 or 4 minutes if he'd done that.
Yeah, they do kind of do the, Chekhov's electrical grid thing where they're like, Maya makes a point not to touch it, but then it doesn't really cause a problem for any of the Alphans in the end. It barely causes a problem for the robot monster. So,
well, it's a joke too. It's like, don't touch it. Oh, I touched it already.
This episode already was kind of padded because it ended up short, and they recorded extra footage when they were making the Bringers of Wonder, which I believe the only thing they added was like hospital footage. So that's another reason why the hospital footage felt all disjointed, is it wasn't even like Helena and Koenig were just in the south of France. They were.
Did you guys notice that
sick?
when they were lying in bed, any shot in the foreground, the camera was always blocked, so you always saw Martin Landau and or Barbara Bain face in the background. They were never obscured by the other actors. They very
I didn't
carefully
notice
blocked
that.
it,
Well,
so you can always see them.
just like how in North Korea you have to have a complete picture of the supreme leader. You can't take a photo and cut off his feet, you know?
Interesting. So his feet always have to be in the photo,
Yeah, and
Is that in
yeah,
a contract somewhere? Was that a contractual obligation?
maybe, but yeah, because if you watch YouTube videos of people going on the tours of Pyongyang and stuff, like, oh, make sure to, when you shoot the picture, make sure to get all of them in your picture. You can't crop.
Yikes.
I mean, you can go
I,
home and then crop it on your computer and then be like, ha ha ha.
I don't I think if I took a camera with me to North Korea, the only thing I would do is just make sure that I had it in case I was accused of something that I didn't do. I
Right.
don't think I'd be taking pictures.
Mm.
Maybe. I guess you're supposed to, but whatever.
They probably think it was weird if you weren't
Take
taking
pictures
pictures.
of what you're supposed to take pictures of.
Yeah, they're like, why are you not taking pictures? Now you're going to prison. Ah, I'm
Uh,
just not doing it, man. I've committed enough faux pas in my lifetime to realize I am not cut out for touring North Korea.
mm.
Not happening.
Okay, that's a fair claim to make. So yeah, I guess for this podcast, what we should do is just wrap it up now, and then in a week or two, maybe when we do Bringers of Wonder, we'll record a few other parts, and then I'll just like splice it on into this episode, like in weird places. Because
Well, I got plenty of
Provocation.
weird notes. Like, well, you know, why use a fancy a decompression chamber when you could have just blown them out in airlock like you did with Baylor?
yeah,
Can't you just
I
put 'em-
I
because
did write.
outside is vacuum, you know, it's free vacuum.
Granted, that would not have worked because he
We
would have
discovered
just
it would
come
not have
right back
worked, but at
in.
least airlocks seem to have
Yeah.
windows so you can watch what's going on inside of them. Unlike this chamber, which didn't even have a camera, so Tony just stupidly opened it after about what 60 seconds.
It's a pretty
I
cool
wouldn't even
set,
think it's
though.
gonna the monster will be incapacitated within that period of time. Nope, no
I had to
reason.
rewind it because I sort of thought that it was done and they is the vacuum is done and then I looked away to type notes and it was just out. I was like, whoa, hold on. Did I miss something? It was just cut really fast.
But
Anyway.
I guess we're just in this one. Again, I enjoyed watching this one quite well, but we are hitting the season 2 problem. In season 1, we're like, is it okay to propagate your society like this for centuries? Or is it okay for the aliens to test the Alphans in this way? And now we're like, dumb fish gorilla monster. So,
Yeah, I am legitimately disappointed that I'm disappointed that we seemed to be heading back towards season 1 territory and this is like a sharp turn right back to Luton. Yeah.
well, look at who wrote it again in Space Warp.
Yeah,
So,
there you go.
but
I'm trying to
yeah,
be nice.
The
No,
Woodgrove trilogy.
we've seen a few that kind of tick up onto like let's think about it a little more, and I guess at the end of the series is going to give us a few of those. So, you know, at least one more doldrum. I hope it's a fun doldrum though, because the Beta Cloud again, it was a fun doldrum of something intelligent, I guess. I mean, or not being intelligent in this case. Doldrums in intelligence is this episode, says Yoda.
What if it was called Doldrums and Intelligence? That'd be a good title. I'm looking at the list of episodes in order that we are doing them, and the last one I really didn't enjoy is probably the Mark of Arcanon. So, and even that one was whatever. But the Rules of Luton, you know, I think this is still better than the Rules of Luton. So good for them for doing better than that. I think the director is pretty competent.
So 5 directing points. Okay.
Yes, 5 directing points.
Shall we
I
go
feel
ahead
like
and move
maybe
on and work out
yeah.
what our actual percentages of this is for what's hard sci-fi, what's soft sci-fi?
All right. Sure. I'm gonna go
Let's do
last. I
it.
don't know.
I was thinking of going last.
All right.
Okay,
then,
well
I guess
then
I have
I'll
to go
go
first.
Yeah, you get to go first because we were going to battle it out. What do you want to go?
Oh, I'd say it's well, there's a lot of teching the tech in this, so you have to kind of give it some credit. But then it has things like Tony taking, you know, numerical coordinates from Maya and entering them in with joysticks. It's like, what was that about? I don't know. I'll probably lean like 70 soft because the monster was kind of weird and pointless and didn't seem to have any thought put into exactly what it was going to do other than rampage. So it's got a high rampage factor. So what do is like 70-30, I guess.
Okay.
I sorry, I'll go ahead and let you go last, Matt. I think I kind of agree with you because like the cloud is nonsense. That's the softest thing in the world. And since the cloud is controlling the robot, then that kind of has to get a higher percentage. They were just trying scientific method to just disable the creature. So that's technically makes that hard sci-fi. They were trying things that would make sense to disable a thing. So yes, I'd say 70 soft, 30 hard.
Okay, I was actually going to use your scientific method argument and actually give it a straight 50-50 because I think you're blinded by, well, not necessarily, but you could be blinded by just how amusingly dumb the monster is. Again, amusingly dumb. I
Yes.
enjoyed the monster quite well. I thought, not quite a Dragon's Domain monster, but close third or something, right?
Yeah,
Sort
I
of the
mean-
monster a go-go of Space 19.
But since it was quite scientific method, the fact that they're facing a literally amorphous threat, they are trying to think about it logically. That's why I kept thinking, oh, well, if the Nostromo crew worked together, this might have been what happened, I'll throw in Dark Star as John Carpenter's first film, written by Dan O'Bannon, but it kind of has a 15-minute segment, which they plugged in way later, where it's like a little bit of Alien right in the middle of that. That is an even dumber monster. That's a beach ball with feet, monster feet. So this is, I mean, I guess that was supposed to be stupid because that movie's a dark comedy, but a Dark Star comedy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was going to give 50-50 because I was like, actually, yeah, the way that the crew is thinking is logical in this episode and scientific. So, maybe the vacuum chamber is not as smart as an airlock, but it still makes sense. And depending on where the monster is in the moon base, maybe the vacuum chamber actually made more sense. We don't know.
And to be fair, them trying to kill the monster with science did get a lot more screen time than the cloud yelling at them.
Yes. So anyway, that's why I was willing to go all the way up to 50 for the hard sci-fi for this, because there is a fair amount of stuff in here. It's just the window dressing is so goofy.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'm not, like I said, not mad. It is fun.
Yeah,
I had a good time.
But I am thinking season one we had all this metaphysical and philosophical bugaboos, and this has like none of that. There is no the beta cloud is quite alpha in the end, I guess.
Well, and also I'd like to add, man, a rubber suit monster looks a lot better on a set like the Moonbase Alpha set than it does in the middle of a desert like in the Rules of Luton.
That's more of a forest, but yeah, point taken.
Whatever that was. a place,
that
planet.
place that didn't quite look
location.
like England.
Is this the first episode that we saved the eagle but lost the pilot?
I think
maybe
that's happened before.
There's only one death in this that we know of. Poor went out for Graham, Pilot Graham, whatever happened to him. I think it would have been a really dumb, an even dumber ending to this episode is the monster keels over and he turns back into Graham. It was Graham.
We got that ball of eagle once that they kept touching.
Yeah, the ball had the pilot still in it.
Yeah, exactly. The assumption with the ball also had the pilots in it. So
yeah. I saw somewhere in some trivia that Eagle 6 was ill-fated in a different episode from season 1, I believe.
You can rebuild.
Yeah, you can always just put a number on anything, really.
Well, what's the most jinxed number? Eagle 1 usually ends up getting destroyed and replaced by another Eagle 1. But what's the most jinxed? Eagle 6, Eagle 4? I don't know.
Eagle 2.
Full Circle. Full Circle was the other episode where Eagle 6 returned with its crew missing. I guess
that's where they landed like all the eagles on the planet for no reason. They're like, they landed another one. Oh, the crew went missing. Better land another one. Check. Oh, crew went missing. Better send another one. Check. And it's like a parking lot down there. I remember that.
but I guess in that case, the crew wasn't missing. They were just now cavemen.
Yeah. So they eventually took all the eagles back up. We assume there were no lost eagles in that, but they were really trying to.
Did they get everybody back from being cavemen at the end of that? I think they. I don't think
so.
they left anybody.
I don't think there's a.
I think there was. I think there may have been one fatality. Maybe the one that came back. I don't know.
It'd be funny if they left like 20 people there. It's like, we can't get them back. They're cavemen.
Well, it
Leave
helps for
'em.
their life support on Alpha because, as they say in the season, they can't support so many people.
Yeah, but so why do you guys think that a cloud and a robot wanted the life support from Alpha? That's another thing that bothered me
That
about
was,
this
yeah,
episode.
the other thing made very little sense. Why do you need that one thing? There's all
Why didn't
sorts
it
of
just
things.
say we need 30,000 tons of terranium? Well, here's
Yeah.
something. Yeah, we need what's
All
the
right,
other
Osgood,
stuff?
you get back down the catacombs, get to work. We
Milganite.
need 30,000.
Because then you wouldn't have had the line, "Give
Milganite.
up your life support system and die." That's
I mean,
why.
that's a good argument, actually. That was a good line.
Did you guys think, oh, here's something from the beginning. Did you guys think this was going to be like a Lorelei Signal episode? Remember the animated Trek where the men are incapacitated and all the women are left? Because it seemed like there was like a lot of women in command center and none of them were affected initially by the cloud. It was like Coney fell over, the extra fell over.
I hate to
And
say
I was
it,
thinking
but
maybe it was just the guys were going to get knocked out and it was just going to be an all-woman episode, but it didn't turn out that way.
I hate to say it, but I immediately thought, oh, this is a double up episode and Koenig's going to be in the next one.
Which
It's
is
just not
almost
true.
true.
Well, it's
Oh,
kind of
it felt like
true.
it. It did feel like it. Yes.
Was doubled
But
up by the Landau Bane Vacation.
Yeah.
Command Center felt a little bit like the Bridge of Discovery there toward the end. It was like more women than men.
I feel bad. I shouldn't attack them for going on vacation. Everyone's entitled to vacation time.
Yeah. Take a vacation. Why not?
Take a vacation, everyone.
As
If
long
you're
as they
listening
planned
to
it out
this-
and didn't just leave without telling anybody, like apparently Nick Tate did. I'm going skiing.
Well,
Do the next
yeah,
without
that's a
me.
good point. Yeah, well, they called Xena Merton and were like, "Hey, could you come back to this show that you left because you weren't happy, so we can take a vacation?"
We'll give you money.
I mean, somebody will give you
that's
money.
part of. I was about to say that's part of the thing, right? We'll give
Yeah.
you money. Oh, okay. I guess I can do it one more time.
Well, I looked up why she left a second time, and it's a movie that sounds very funny, and I'll get to that in trivia in the future. But I'm trying to find it. Some kind of Norwegian movie.
But then she comes back at the very end of it all.
Huh.
Hmm.
Didn't know that. You've taught me trivia.
Right. We'll get to that eventually. But
Yep.
shall we wrap this guy up for today? Any other things you want to throw? Weird notes. This is kind of I read my weird notes. You read your weird notes sort of episode. So
This episode's weird. For a while when the voice was laughing at them, it sounded like Vincent Price in Thriller. Maybe they should have had Vincent Price do the voice.
Oh, maniacal laughter, like that part.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, and also
Vincent Price wouldn't work for that. I support.
surprised-
I'm still going Shatner. Shatner should have been the cloud voice,
Yeah, that would have been great.
or
I mean,
Malcolm McDowell. I like that too. But
hell, yeah, anybody.
Anybody else?
I'm surprised Brian didn't bring up that Tony said, "Meyer, I love you."
Meyer. That's true. Oh God.
My balloon
Want
has
Tony.
a second name. It's Meyer.
That's why she brought him to solitaire.
Okay.
Okay.
Tell them where we're at.
Well, we are at patreon.com/podcastius. You can send money, you can listen to things, you can watch things, you can read things, listen to other podcasts like Films and Filth, Citizen Kane of podcasts. Brian is guesting there frequently. Time Enough podcast for the Twilight Zone. Brian and I both guest there frequently. Matt is always there. Always. Luke Loves Pokemon about Pokemon. There's always Pokemon there. Game Show, the game show about games, occult Disney, covering the connections between Disney and the occult, of which there are several. And you can
Podcast 1999, which is this podcast.
Yes, come back next week for more of this.
If you dare.
Or or give us your life support
And die.
and
Sarcasm in your current circumstances, hardly a defense.
Okay, we cut it
and
there.
I wrote that down and I forgot that I
Well,
love that line
it came
too.
out at the end.
That
So,
I think was, I mean,
cool.
our favorite lines. I think that was my favorite line.
Yeah, that's great.
He got really petulant right then. Sarcasm's hardly a defense.
Yeah, I do love an evil voice that's like, "Hey, die, die!
Come on,
Hey,
do
come
it.
on,
Come
just
on,
die."
do it. Die.
Just
Do
do
it.
it.
Die.
Die.
Let me see what's next. Is it Space Warp next time, I think?
No,
think
it's
it's a
one
matter of balance.
before.
Oh.
Not to be confused with the matter of life and death, or
Matterhorn. Oh, matter of balance. Vindrus of Sunim lures a girl across the line by enabling an alien race to live again, with Moonbase Alpha as the weighing coin. Okay, that counts as one of the weird descriptions again. I've been skipping the weird descriptions, haven't I? What was this one? Members of Moonbase Alpha must fight in a battle against inhuman creatures determined to take their main life support, a difficult feat when most of Alpha is incapacitated by gaseous space phenomena. Okay, that one's actually reasonable, but next week's is not reasonable.
I have to go back to the box. We need to determine that the box sets had my box sets had longer descriptions.
Longer, weird descriptions, yes.
That got shrunk down even to shorter, weirder descriptions on your box because they were edited so poorly.
Seed of Destruction has a pretty good one here. Koenig is changed after landing on a mysterious asteroid. It's up to Meyer, Tony, and Helena to prevent the awakening of a sleeping giant within the asteroid's crystals. That barely makes sense.
Within the asteroid's crystals. Sleeping giant. Yeah, that's like, it's not really a sleeping giant, it's just a thing in there. I don't know. But anyway.
Here's a space warp for you. A space warp leaves Koenig and Tony behind as the Earth's moon travels 5 light years deeper into the unknown. Meanwhile, Meyer's fever causes her to transform, which she transforms every week. Why is it special that way?
Wow.
We'll find out. You'll find out, I guess. Maybe she
will
gets
find
longer
out.
sideburns. I don't know. We'll find out.
Be a bee.
Again.
Okay, so a matter of balance.
I don't think I can do next Monday, but the rest of the week looks okay.
Okay, I haven't really plugged in anything for next week yet. Luke's got to get to us about Mononoke, so that's kind of
cool. You said that would probably be a Sunday, right?
maybe, yeah. So I just let it float in the air a little bit like a space fart, and we'll get
Yeah, we're ahead anyway.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. So and then yeah, I mean Tuesday, Wednesday, it might be okay. But Perfect Blue is tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Excuse me. Sometimes I hit the mute when I do that, but I didn't now because it's not the proper episode anymore.
Just edit it out later for the
Why?
patrons.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Edit it out for them.
I'm gonna edit it.
Dance for the patrons.
You can say whatever you want. You can say booger.
I could say I'll beat that cloud off.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I could not resist.
I guess I will hit
Beat
the
it off.
record any Suze.